Welcome to Discovering. What does it take to put together a couple dozen fish cribs on a cold, frigid, windy UP January morning?
Well, logs, slabs, sandbags, and one of the UP's most valuable resources, volunteers.
I know it's a cold one and it's hard on the volunteers today, but we got a lot of people out here putting these fish cribs together. And
then we'll find out how another one of the UP's most valuable resources is made.
We typically make anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 pasties per day. We like to work 2 days a week.
All that and more, so sit back, put your feet up, it's Monday night and time for Discovering.
The secret streams that flow beneath the cliffs of colored stone. Forests thick and healthy with birch and pine and oak. Surrounded by the greatest lakes this world has ever known. The black bear's awesome presence as he roams the hills and fields. Call of the timber wolf, the loon's lonesome trill. The eagle soaring high above, the trout lies deep and still. These are what I treasure, the only way I measure feelings that I have for this fine land. There is so much to discover when you're a long-time lover of northern Michigan.
Tonight's show is about the efforts of one of the UP's many outdoor-related organizations to enhance the fishing habitat on Iron County's Michigamme Reservoir.
this is the third year that Wildlife Unlimited of Iron County has been able to do these fish cribs in cooperation with Wisconsin Electric and the DER through the permit process.
But even more so, it's about the people who make it happen.
This is the third year of our projects, and we've got three people who spearheaded this. Bill Ziegler and Floyd Drops and Dave Grondin have worked extra hard for the last 3 years to get these cribs in. I'd also like to thank all of the volunteers here today in this lousy weather. And we did get a small grant from We Energies to help defray some of these costs, but most of our money comes from our annual April banquet for membership banquet, and without those people attending and contributing over the year, that we just wouldn't be able to do the things that we can.
Sometimes we find ourselves asking, why on earth do we live here? It's Sunday and we can't even buy a loaf of bread. The summers are short and the winters are long. There are way too many days with the temperature in the double digits with a minus sign in front of the number. Well, on days like this one, it's not hard to figure out. Living in the UP is certainly about hunting, fishing, beautiful places, and just being in the outdoors in general. But you can't make that list without pointing a finger at the most important ingredient, the people of the UP and their willingness to lend a hand. Whether it's putting together a benefit for someone in need or helping the neighbor pile his firewood, Upers don't even blink an eye. They do it without question. In doing what I do, I get to travel around and meet a lot of people, and I see it over and over, time and time again. Volunteers. Just about every town has some event that would not be possible without volunteers. Fishing tournaments, races, activities for kids, putting up duck houses, walking trails, habitat improvements, you name it. Volunteers are hard at work every single week of the year somewhere in the UP. Today's project is no exception. 30 men and women came out in spite of sub-zero conditions for no other reason than to improve the fishing conditions for someone, for anyone who enjoys fishing here.
Today we're out on the Michigamme Reservoir, and it's so cold that my face is freezing up as I'm trying to talk. It's 4 degrees out here right now, the last time I looked, with about a 19-mile-an-hour northwest wind. So it isn't one of your better days to be working outside, but when you have all these people coming together and all this equipment coming together, you got to make the best of it, and it is what it is. So we're gonna make fish cribs today. The first year we actually put them in a bay up here behind me on to the right, in about a 20-foot flat. And the second year we put them down on the other end of the reservoir there, where the Deer River feeds in to the reservoir. And then this year they're going to be on the far end of the reservoir where it feeds into the wide waters in the bigger area. Wildlife Unlimited got into this along with some other guys, a whole group of guys, to provide more material for the fish to hide in. A friend of mine taught me a long time ago, when you have wood down there, you're going to have fish. They need the structure to live, to hide in, to hunt in. So the more wood you can get, the better off it's going to be, I feel. As the water is dropping down out here, the shoreline starts to get exposed more and more, and what happens is those weed beds that the fish were able to use are literally being wiped out because the water is dropping down into the bigger pools, down into the original river channels. And so these fish cribs are going to provide another situation where the fish are, the smaller fish, the walleye fingerlings in particular, the smaller ones, they're going to have a place to hide, so they're not as readily eaten up by the bigger fish. If walleye fingerlings don't make the first year or two in this big body of water, they're not going to make it at all because they don't have enough places to hide. So these structures are going to provide more places for fish to hide. All species of fish are going to use them. They're not going to be in there all 365 days of the year, but they're going to certainly use it in the springtime for spawning in and around it, and they're going to use it for habitat in and around it. One study I read several years ago was that 70% of the fish you're going to find in a lake are going to be on, in, or around structure. So fish typically aren't just roaming from spot to spot. They're based on a drop-off, a weed bed, or wood, so that they're like you and me. They want something to hide on, near, for either attacking bait fish or bait fish are looking for a place to hide to get away from the big fish. So it all works together. We start out with 12 full cord of 6 to 8 inch maple logs, and they're hand picked for us so we can handle them, physically pick them up. We've got 600 pounds of sandbags that Ron Colonel's crew were really great about putting together for us with the Williams Ready Mix, and they donated all the sand for this as well for the last 3 years. And so the 600 pounds of sandbags are tied on. We put 8 logs down, they're notched. We start putting some slab wood in between the layers as we go up to give the fish places to hide and shade for in the summer as well. And then the final layer is capped off with another layer of slab wood, and they're all nailed down with 16-penny nails. And when we're all done with all these, we take steel banding and we band the whole thing together like a nice tight sandwich. Come around April, when the ice starts getting soft, and typically people and animals can step right through the ice, these cribs will just get ripped right through the ice very violently and fall to the bottom. The number of cribs that we've got out here is a total of about 62 right now. The first year we dropped 20. The second year we were able to drop 20 more, and this year it looks like we're going to drop 22. It's all dependent on the logs and the size of the logs as to how many turn out. They're typically 8 by 8 feet, and they're 5 feet high with the slab wood I mentioned in between each of the layers. So it allows, and they're laid out in a long line every other one. And the reason for that is so that the fish can get to and from them, but not that they're so far apart that they can't hide in them. So it's kind of like a brush pile for rabbits in a sense. So they're able to get in and out of them. We got a lot of volunteers from throughout the whole community, more people than I can even mention. But Kim Nylund has been instrumental in helping me with this whole thing. Mart Stahovich as well. He's really been great with his equipment as well. And Todd Chamian and Brian Carrill, they've really been instrumental in this whole thing. And today we're even fortunate enough to have Mark Milcrest and the Fisheries Division guys out here helping us as well.
What we're doing here is we're working today with Wildlife Unlimited of Iron County, and they're doing some fish habitat structures. They're putting structures in 20 feet of water to 25 feet of water for fish to concentrate around during critical periods in their life. With the Michigan Department of Natural Resources, we like to help as much as we can with these private groups that do so much good for our area, in our lakes, waters, streams, and with kids in that. Wildlife Unlimited is a wonderful group. Habitat structures like this don't necessarily increase the number of fish in your lake, but they do help concentrate fish and make it so that fishermen can catch them during their time on the water. In the winter time, this reservoir is drawn down 15 feet. And at that time, a lot of the small fishes migrate into the deeper areas and then they're vulnerable to predation by northern pike, walleye, larger crappie. And so they also have a small place where they can seek refuge. So there's a double component here where there's some refuge for these small fishes, and it's a great place to go there and try to catch the bigger fish that are trying to seek out those small fish.
If anybody is interested in doing fish cribs, I certainly would be available to try to help you. The DNR is a big stepping stone. You have to work with their DEQ people. Jim Karen was very helpful to me in filling out the application along with Bill Ziegler. And depending on the lake that you're dealing with, there may already be some cribs on them. Cribs have been put on lakes around the UP for years. Sometimes people just don't know that they're there. This is definitely going to help all species of fish for many, many years to come. And I'm really proud of that. Our grandchildren are going to be able to fish on these cribs and for many years.
If you want ribs, do you try Memphis, Kansas City, or Texas? For pizza, is it New York or Chicago? Well, the jury's still out, I guess. But if you're looking for a pasty, it's pretty simple. You'd head straight for the Upper Peninsula. The pasty wasn't invented here, and you certainly can find it in other places. But probably no other area is so directly associated with this tasty crust-wrapped culinary immigrant. Today I'm in Crystal Falls, and I wasn't leaving town without a stop at Nylund's Foods to find out more about this portable piece of UP culture.
Pasty started in Cornwall, England. And what the Cornish people are known for is mining. So they came over here and immigrated over to the United States and ended up in all the iron mines in the UP and Wisconsin and Minnesota. So everywhere there was a Cornish person, they had pasties. And pretty soon the Finnish and the Italian started making their own version of pasties and that. There's actually more pasty shops in Sacramento, California than there is in the UP, just because of the gold mining out there. When the gold miners went out there, well, they were also Cornish, and they took the pasties with them. Actually my father started making pasties in the 60s. He owned a little grocery store up in Republic, Michigan. Great mining town, and any great mining town is pasties. Some real nice Finnish ladies up there taught them how to make pasties, and so ever we've been in the groceries business, we've carried this forward with us. So we decided to jump into the pasty business. And we've been in that 14 years from now. We're supplying, I think right now we're into 7 states, pretty much the Midwest and that, which Michigan and Wisconsin are our biggest customers in that. So this is our potato peeler. And our potato peeler, we peel on the average day, we'll run 1,500 pounds of potatoes through here. We buy all our potatoes locally. They're Russet Burbank. We buy them from Johnson's out here, out in Mansfield here, close to Crystal Falls. They are right now, currently, I think he told me he's growing between 30 and 40 acres of potatoes for us. We peel the potatoes in this peeler. It basically flops the potatoes around, and there's an abrasive in here, and it rubs it against the wall. As it spins, it takes a piece of the peeling off at a time. From the peeler, we run it into this commercial dicer here. This dices our potatoes. It'll dice probably up to 100 pounds a minute. From that process, we will go over to our mixer. We add potatoes, we add onions, we add carrots, we add the special 7 secret spices. Add the beef to it. It's a USDA choice beef, and we'll run it out. This is our dough mixer here. We add flour and shortening and water and salt basically, and mix it and make pasty crust like anybody else, but we make 500 pounds at a time. From there, the dough is ran into a dough divider. It cuts the dough into hockey puck sizes. This will cut 120 pieces of dough a minute. From that, it'll be put on baking pans and stacked. From there, we run it up to our the head of our production line here. We put the pieces of dough on this double pass dough divider here and roll it out flat. And from there, it comes down a series of conveyors to the main conveyors. And from there, the guy that's scooping the mix puts a scoop of mix onto the pasty dough. At one time, we were automated where we had an automatic machine with electric eyes to do this process. Actually, the machine couldn't think enough, where it was better to put an actual person here that could sense if our mix was a little too wet or a little too dry, because potatoes and onions and beef are not always the same. More moisture, less moisture, so this was a very important part to have a thinking machine, and that would be a human. So it runs down here, down the assembly line to a series of pasty makers. We make 2, 6, 8, and 12, and 16-ounce pasties. So they'll be making various different sizes. From there, they'll put the pasty back on the conveyor. Conveyor comes back down to a panner. The panner puts the pasties on a pan, puts the pasty pans on a rack, and from that point forward, the racks go into a rotating rack oven. And the rotating rack ovens, so we have 2 of them. We have the capacity to cook 1,000 pasties every half hour. So if we want to, we can cook 2,000 pasties per hour. We cook them to 168 degrees. And what we do, we cook all the meat in the pasty to make sure it's a sterile product. Pasty is probably from a food safety perspective, probably one of the safest products out there, because we cook it and then we tell the consumer to cook it again. From the oven, we take them out there. We have a series of cooling steps. We use filtered outside ambient air. So the colder it is, the happier we are outside. So I think it's must be 25 below out there today. And we're real happy about that. The reason why there's crimped on pasty and why it's as big as it is basically it was a handle, because the miners would take these down into the underground iron mines. And at that time, there was a lot of arsenic in the mine. So what the miner would do, he would eat the pasty down to the crust, because his fingers potentially had arsenic in them, and then he would throw away the rest of the pasty because odds are it was contaminated with arsenic. We make 6 different varieties of pasties. We make a beef with rutabaga, we make a chicken, we make an Italian, we're currently making a Mexican, and we make a Cornish. Our pasty is probably as close to I can't say a health food, but it's meat and potatoes, onions and carrots. There's no MSG. There's no trans fat. We try and make it as totally healthy as possible. We sell a lot of pasties to the schools, and to get pasties into schools, they're quite rigid with their standards right now to do that. We're very proud that we were able to sell to them. Everybody I talk to thinks that there's not much competition in the pasty business, but I have to compete with everybody's grandmother that's been making pasties for 60 years. So if somebody tells me that my pasty is almost as good as their grandmother's, that's probably the biggest compliment I probably could ever have. We're inspected by the USDA. The good thing about USDA is that you get all the federal holidays off, like deer season and walleye season and bird season. We typically make anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 pasties per day. We like to work 2 days a week. Probably strange, but we don't really care to grow anymore. We're very happy with our volume because it creates a life for us. You can have all the money in the world, but you only have so much time on this earth, so it's having Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off is a pretty good thing.
Here's a look at what's going on across the UP in the next couple of weeks. The UP 200 is one of America's premier 12-dog mid-distance sled dog races, drawing mushers from around the U.S. and Canada. The weekend features 3 separate races: the UP 200, the Midnight Run, and the Jack Pine 30. Activities begin on Wednesday the 13th with opening ceremonies, and the race start on Friday. For all the information, visit up200.org. In Marquette on Saturday the 15th, it's the Downtown Showdown Ski and Snowboard Rail Jam. Check it out on Facebook for more info. February 15th and 16th marks Michigan's Winter Free Fishing Weekend. There are a number of related events taking place on Saturday the 15th. Fort Wilkins Historic State Park in Copper Harbor will host the 3rd annual Lake Fannie Hoo Ice Fishing Tournament from 7 to 3. The fishing tournament is sponsored by the Pines Resort, and all proceeds from the event will be donated to the DNR Fisheries Division to support splake population management in the Keweenaw. Participants will be competing for the largest trout, walleye, and perch. There's a $10 registration fee for adults and no charge to participate in the youth ice fishing contest. All participants must register at the Pines Resort prior to going on the ice. Registration begins at 6 a.m. the day of the tournament. On Autrain Lake in Munising, it's the Moose Lodge Fishing Derby. The derby is open to all ages with a $10 entry fee for adults, and kids 12 and under are free. On Hanbury Lake in Norway, the 4th annual Hanbury Lake Ice Fishing Derby from 7 to 2. Also on Saturday is the Wakefield Volunteer Fire Department Ice Fishing Contest. The event runs from 11 to 4 and is $5 for adults and $3 for kids. Sunday marks the end of the Eastern Dickinson County Sportsman's Club's Predator Hunt and the start of the Ontonagon Valley Sportsman's Club's Predator Roundup, which runs from the 13th through the 16th. On February 21st, it's time for the Big Bay Vintage Snowmobile Run, with the Vintage Show taking place on the 22nd. And take a trip to Trinary on the 22nd for the 21st ever Trinary Outhouse Classic. Also on the 22nd, it's the Wolverine Uperbiner Snowshoe Race at the Wolverine Nordic Ski Trails near Ironwood. And don't forget to get your raffle tickets. The drawing for the Bucklevassar fundraising raffle is February 23rd. That's it for this week. Hope you enjoyed watching, and we'll see you next week right here on Discovering.